Okay, so hello everyone. Today we are starting the revision notes of Indian polity. I have already told you in my other videos also that please treat this note as only for revision purpose, not to start studying from this. Okay, so these are just my revision notes, and these are the points I am taking is completely from my point of view. So what thing is that I can miss some point also, or there might be some mistakes also, and I'm just again appealing, just let me know if I'm making any mistakes or any facts, anything regard anything. Okay, so that I can again re-upload and correct everything and re-upload so that it can benefit both of us. So today we'll start Indian polity, and what is the starting point of Indian polity. If you say, it is the Regulating Act of 1773, when uh, East India Company, who entered in India as a trading company, they had did lots of thing and started ruling India. Okay, so a Regulating Act of 1773 was set up to uh, set up by this East India Company to have a regulation to rule in India. So, Regulating Act of 1773. So, what was in that act was Governor General of Bengal has the authority over Presidency of Madras, Bombay, and Kolkata. First Governor General was Warren Hastings. The Supreme Court was established in Kolkata. First Chief Justice was Sir Elijah Impri. Next is Pitt's India Act in 1784. So it was set up to guide and supervise affairs of companies in India. Charter Act of 1793. So salaries of staff and members of Board of Control to be taken from Indian revenue. Charter Act of 1813. It ended monopoly of East India Company to trade with India, and the other monopoly with China is again remain intact. I think by that time British Parliament has taken interest. Next, Charter Act of 1833. Now the Governor General of Bengal is now called as Governor General of India, and first of that was Lord William Bentinck. All legislative and administrative financial powers were handed to Governor General Council. Okay. The Law Commission under Lord Macaulay was constituted, and in 1853 Charter Act, separate governor for Bengal was appointed. Recruitment of civil service was introduced. Local representation in legislative council was introduced. And the thing is that during this period, we have one popular, say, Governor General was there in India. We have, say, they did lots of things, which is Lord Dalhousie. Okay, so next what we have is, say, after the Sepoy Mutiny, so company took the responsibility of administration in India. Okay, so as India has become the golden egg laying hen, so they were all interested in India. So now British Crown has taken the utmost interest and start ruling in India. So after Sepoy Mutiny, the power was transferred from company to British rule. Then Governor General was made the Viceroy of India. So Lord Canning was the first Viceroy of India. Next, Indian Council Act 1861. So what was there? Portfolio system was introduced, and that was started with this particular act. Next is Indian Council Act 1909, also called as Morley-Minto reforms. So Lord Morley, the Secretary of State, Lord Minto, the Viceroy of India, make some changes in British Parliament. So Legislative Council member was increased to 60. Communal representation was introduced, and Muslims were given separate electorate based on religious count. So with this, what they have done is they have started dividing India based on Hindu and Muslim, or in that way, and they have Muslims are given separate electors so that they will vote for only Muslim candidates, not for Hindu. So that was the starting of their divide and rule policy. I mean, they have already implemented, but they have introduced in caste language and those kind of things too. Now another important act, which is Government of India Act 1909, also called as Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. So direct elections were introduced for the first time in the country. Central legislature was bicameral for the first time. Diocese system was introduced in the provinces. Provinces were subject of administration divided into reserve and transfer category. So transfer category was administered by governor with the help of ministers. Reserve category was administered by governor only. Governor means here what we are talking about the viceroy. Next, the provided it provided separate electorate. Okay, so it is provided for here. I think I have made a mistake, but thing is that they have provided separate electorate for Christians, Anglo-Indian, Europeans. Okay, so I will again correct this line based on what was the information. But thing is that they have increased the separate electorates. Next, Simon Commission. So this act was enacted from 1919. So Simon Commission was constituted in 1927. So to prepare a report of working on this Government of Indian Act. But Indian were outraged by this particular action because they thought the Simon Commission would just uh, give a biased opinion on this particular act. Mostly Indians were not happy with this separate electorate kind of things, and the thing is that the opinions were divided in this period. Okay, so also if we look from history perspective, there were lots of things happening in this period. Gandhijis were in India, then this non-cooperation movement were started. Uh, So, when Simon Commission visited India, so there was this huge protest against the Simon Commission. So these are things of history only. So we'll discuss in history part. Next, this Government of India Act 1935. So also this called as blueprint of Indian Constitution. Most of the things were drawn from this particular act only. So piracy was abolished in the provinces but introduced in federal level. So division of subject is made into federal, provisional and concurrent. Introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces, and it made a 2 chamber of council. One is Council of State, another Federal Assembly. Council of State was a permanent body just like Rajya Sabha. So 1/3 of member will returning every 2 years. It extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorate for depressed class, women and labor. So they have introduced more separate electorates. It provided establishment of Reserve Bank of India also. Okay. So next was Cripps Mission, which is in 1942. So Dominion status was proposed, and Constitution of India is to be made by Assembly. So they have proposed that thing that when they will leave India, so there has to be a Constituent Assembly uh, the Constituent Assembly for creation of our Constitution, and there will be interim government also. But thing is that this was they're talking about Dominion status. So Dominion means India is still a part of British, but British will not be there. Next, actually Cabinet Mission Plan was set up in 1946. So at that point British were ready to leave India, but thing is that to swiftly shift the power from British to India, so they have to made one Constituent Assembly. This Constituent Assembly for creation of the Constitution. Okay, and there was an interim government to transfer the power from British to India. Okay, and during that time Muslim League also demanded for separate Pakistan. So Mountbatten has this plan, which is 1947 Mountbatten plan. So that was another plan was there. So with Mountbatten plan, so Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten gives a partition plan, which was accepted by Congress and Muslim League. So immediate effect was given to the plan by enacting Independence Act of 1947. So finally India got independence, which is Indian Independence Act 1947, which ended the British rule in India by declaring India got its independence on 15 August 1947. So Crown is no longer remained the source of authority. The Act also provided creation of India and Pakistan. Next, interim government. Okay, so that was already taking in charge from 2nd September 1946, and the task was to transfer of power from British to independent India. Next, this interim cabinet has Jawaharlal Nehru as External Affairs and Commonwealth Relations Minister. Sardar Patel was Home and Information Broadcasting. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was as Food and Agriculture. John Mathai was in Industrial and Supplies. This Shreesh Bhabha was as Mines and Power. C. Rajagopalachari was Education and Art. So I've just taken some of the ministers' profile, not all. Okay, so these are, I think, some important. Next, again, you can study more about this interim cabinet. Okay. Now, the most important thing is the Constitution of India. So, under the Cabinet Mission Plan, Constituent Assembly was formed on November 1946. First meeting was held in 9th December 1946, and it took almost 3 years to finalize. So exactly, if you say 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. So on 26 November 1949, the third and final draft of the Constitution was ready, and it was accepted. And the provisions related to citizenship, election, and provisional parliament was implemented with immediate effect on the day of 26 November. Okay, so again, if you see, on that day, Indian Constitution has 395 articles, 22 part, and 8 schedule. Okay, the whole as a Constitution was accepted on or come into force on 26 January, but these provisions related to citizenship, election, and provisional were started from 1949 itself. Okay, and from 26 January 1950, all the other provisions came into force. And the Constitution, by the time of final draft or by the time it was in force, it has 395 articles, 22 parts, and 8 schedules. But now the Constitution has 448 articles, 25 parts, and 12 schedules. Next, there were different committees on the Constituent Assembly. So, Union Constitution Committee, State Committee were headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee, Advisory Committee, Fundamental Rights, Minorities, and Tribal and Excluded Area were headed by Sardar Patel. Drafting Committee was headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And the Constitution of India, again, these are information we have already covered, come into force on 26 January. Okay, because of this date, there, like I'm repeating this thing. So this 26 January was considered as Purna Swaraj Day. Okay, this would be day. On 1930, as there was a resolution passed in Indian National Congress, say Lahore session of 1929. So based on this day, so they have considered as Independence Day on this 26 January. So they have celebrated in 1930 also as a Purna Swaraj Day. Okay, so flag were hosted. So that's why this day was taken as 26 January as an important day to remember. Now also we remember as Republic Day. So India became Republic on that particular day. Now the some sources of Indian Constitution. Okay, so first sources Government of India Act 1935 is also called as blueprint of Indian constitution, because most of the things were directly say copied or directly added in the Indian constitution. So this is why it is called as blueprint of Indian constitution. Now some other things that was taken from other constitution was that from British constitution what we have taken is parliamentary form of government, law making procedure, office of CSE, single citizenship, and bicameralism. Okay. So from United States Constitution we have taken charter of this fundamental right, preamble, post of vice president, independence of judiciary, written constitution, power of judicial review. Next, from Irish Constitution, again it marks as important as we have taken directive principles of state policy, which is DPSP, very important point. So it is borrowed from Irish Constitution. Okay. Also, method of election of president. Canadian Constitution we have taken quasi-federal form of government. Next is from USSR, is a 5-year planning and fundamental duties. From Australian Constitution we have taken concurrent list, joint sitting in Parliament, provision regarding trade and commerce. So this joint sitting in Parliament is under Article 108. Okay. Next, Weimar Constitution of Germany. So we have taken suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. Okay. Next, South African Constitution we have taken procedure of constitutional amendment. So in our article we have this article 368 for constitutional amendment. So that thing is taken from South African Constitution. So what we have taken is that the procedure of constitutional amendment. Okay. From Japanese Constitution we have taken procedure established by law. Okay. So next, some features of Indian Constitution, which are longest written constitution, partly flexible and partly rigid. Okay. Parliamentary form of government, independent judiciary, federal system with unitary features, secular state. Okay. So what we can say with these two points is that there is some difference between United States and India. India also a combination of like secular states. Sorry, not secular. We have different states in India, and in United States also they have different states. So difference between those two are that in India the final authority is in the hand of Parliament, and the Indian state follow the Parliament, and we are not separated by the means of law and regulations. But in case of United States, there's like a vast difference in administration was seen between two different states. But in case of India, almost all the procedures are almost same. So this is the difference between India and United States. Okay, if it comes to the point of this like federal systems. Okay, so this is the difference between India and US's federal system. Next, these are some part and subjects. So these are the parts and the parts holding this subject and the articles that are lying under these parts. Okay, so part 1 is union is territory, so article 1 to 4 deals with that. Part 2 is citizenship, which is article 5 to 11 deals with that. Next is fundamental rights, part 3, which is article 12 to 35 deals with those things. Next, directive principle of state policy, which is 36 to 51. Next, fundamental duty is just for part 4a, which is 51a article. Next, part 5 is union. So like that, these parts are given and the articles are given. Similarly here also. Now this part 20 we can remember, amendment of constitution, which is article 368, I have already told you. And this is also, if you remember where it was taken from, so it was taken from the constitution, or it is taken from the South African Constitution. Okay, so next important part is the schedules. Okay, so we have to remember the schedules because they are very important and we only have 12 schedules, so that's why it is again necessary to remember these schedules, because you cannot remember all the parts but you can remember the schedules. So first schedule, it contains the name of state and union territory. So if you are like recalling or you're writing notes, you can write first schedule is union and its territory. Okay, so first schedule is union and its territory. Second schedule is this provision related to allowance, privilege and emolument. So what we can say, okay, so what this second schedule hold is that the salaries and emoluments of this following post, okay, not other than this post. The Indian constitution only have the provisions in relation to salaries, allowance and privileges of President of India, Governor of Indian States, Speaker of Lok Sabha and Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, Chairman and Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Legislative Assemblies of Indian States, Chairman and Deputy Chairman of Legislative Council of Indian States, and Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Okay, so only regarding this post, not other than this. Suppose what we have is Solicitor General, Attorney General, Finance Commission. Regarding those, so there is no provision regarding to the salaries and allowance of those say post were in this particular schedule. Okay, so that this particular schedule or the constitution only defined the salaries and salaries and emoluments of this particular post only. Okay, so if they ask the second schedule considered the salaries and emoluments of Attorney General, Solicitor General, so that will be wrong. Okay, so next comes third schedule. So it contains oath and affirmation for again almost the same positions. So ministers of India, parliament election candidate, that means I think MP candidates we are talking, members of parliament, Supreme Court judges. Okay, so I think this state legislator election candidate, so there is some state legislature member, High Court judge and Supreme Court judge. So these salaries are this oath and affirmations are defined in the constitution. But same thing I guess for the almost same personnels, for the same personnel we have oaths and affirmation and also salaries and emoluments. Okay, so this is our third schedule. Next, fourth schedule is called as allocation of seats in Rajya Sabha, okay, for states and union territory. Fifth schedule provides relation to administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Next, sixth schedule provides the administration of tribal areas in the state of Assam and Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura. Next, seventh schedule, it deals with three legislative lists which are nothing but state list, union list and concurrent list. Eighth schedule, it deals with official languages, okay, or you can say language. Next, these are not included in the constitution when it was enacted for the first time. So ninth schedule was introduced by first amendment. Okay, so the first amendment was ninth schedule and it was the state act and regulation for the abolition of zamindari systems. Okay, so in the questions they might put that it is regarding some special laws and rules, it can be added in that way. Then 10th schedule was it is provision regarding it is also called as anti-defection law. Okay, so disqualification based on the ground of defection. Suppose a member of parliament or MLA was elected from a different political party and after winning he has joined in a different political party. So in that case he will be disqualified as a member of legislative assembly. If you want to rejoin as a member of legislative assembly, what you have to do is you have to re-elect and win. Next, 11th schedule is regarding panchayat. 12th schedule is regarding municipalities. Okay, so these are the four schedules that were introduced later, not during the time the constitution was enacted. Okay, so next is universal adult franchise. So that means voting age or adult age was down to 18 from 21. So it was done with 61st Amendment Act of 1989. So this act made the voting age or legal adult age from 18. So another important thing, after the constitution was say completed and India got independence, is that to reorganize the state, because not all the states were part of India at that time. So princely states were there. So to so in that case, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had a huge role to reorganize the Indian states. So there was this study to how to reorganize state based on linguistic basis. So first, Dhar committee was appointed on June 1948 to study the feasibility of reorganizing state based on linguistic basis, but this idea was rejected at the time. Next, a JVP committee was there. This JVP committee, Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Pattabi Sitaramaya. Okay, appointed for again state reorganization based on linguistic basis, but a committee rejected the idea. Okay, but what happened is that for the state of Andhra, the Telugu speaking people, they created this Andhra as first state based on linguistic on October 1953. So the Andhra became the first state to create on the basis of language. Okay, so linguistic state. So before this third committee and JVP committee, they have rejected the idea based on linguistic reorganization of state based on linguistic basis. But Andhra, the people actually started like taking the idea. Okay, and Andhra became the first state on the linguistic basis. So after that, Fazal Ali Commission was set, and the commission accepted language as a basis of reorganization. So because of that, the State Reorganization Act was there, and this act created 14 states and 6 union territories. So first it was Andhra, next it became Kerala and Karnataka. Next in 1960, Bombay was bifurcated into Gujarat and Maharashtra. 1963, Nagaland was as a separate state. Okay, then 1963, Haryana was carved out of Punjab and Chandigarh became a union territory. 1970, Union Territory of Himachal Pradesh was given a status of state. 1971, Manipur, Tripura, Meghalaya was granted statehood. In 1974, Sikkim became an associate state of Indian Union. By 1975, by 1975, Sikkim became a full-fledged state under the Act of 36 Amendment Act. So now Sikkim became full-fledged Indian state by 1975. So other state is that in 1986, Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh was given statehood. 1987, Goa was become state. Okay, in 2000, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand and Jharkhand was created. In 2014, Telangana come into existence. In 2014, as Hyderabad as capital. On 31st October, Jammu and Kashmir become state. In 31st October 2019, Jammu and Kashmir bifurcated into 2 union territories. So it was a state before, and now it was union territory, as one is Jammu and Kashmir, another one is Ladakh. Okay. On 26 January 2020, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, so they have merged into a single union territory. And talking about this union territories, 69 Constitutional Amendment Act of 1991. So Delhi was given status of National Capital Territory of India, which is also we called as NCR, okay, Delhi NCR. So this was the thing regarding Indian states and union territories. Okay. So now we will discuss the articles and articles of the Indian Constitution. So we have already discussed how the Constitution was say formed or like drafted and it came into force. So the preamble. So preamble. We the people of India solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So before 1976, so these words are not there, which are socialist, secular, and integrity. So those three words were not there in the constitution. But after this 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, so these three new words were added. Okay. Next, before that, there was one case on this Kesavananda Bharati case, 1973. So the state versus Kesavananda Bharati case. The Supreme Court given a verdict that the preamble can be amended subject to condition there is no amendment done on the basic feature of the constitution. So before that, there was no concept of amendment of the preamble. Okay. Now next come to the articles. So first part of the constitution has union and its territory. So starting with this article 1, so it is described that India is Bharat as a union of state. At present there are 28 states and it has 8 union territories. Okay, so this article 2 that empowered parliament to admit into new states or new states. I think there is some mistake here. Okay, so this article 2 empowers parliament to admit new states, and article 3 authorizes the parliament to form a new state by separation of or increasing or decreasing the area of state, alter the boundary of any state. Okay, so that means these articles are based on the size or the states and all. Okay, next is citizenship. So article 5 to 8 deals with how a person become citizens of India. So the citizenship can be by acquisition of citizenship by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, and by incorporation of territory. And the loss of citizenships can be done by renunciation, by termination, and by deprivation. Next is fundamental rights. The article 12 to 35 tells about fundamental rights. So article 14 is equality before law and equal protection of law. Okay, so some exceptions of this law are the president or governor. It is not answerable to any. This will be court. For the exercise and non-performance of power or duties of his office. Okay, no criminal proceeding shall be instituted against a president or government in any court during his term of office. No process for arrest or imprisonment of president or governor shall be issued from any court during his office, and no civil proceeding against the president or this should be the governor will be instituted during his term of office. Okay, so next article 15 is no discrimination against any citizen on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Next is article 16. It is equal opportunity on the public employment. It is also provide reservation for OBC and reservation in promotion for SC and ST. So Mandal Commission in 1979, when Morarji Desai government was there, appointed this commission for reservation of OBC. So in 1980, they have published a report that recommend 27% job reservation for OBCs. This Article 17. Article 17 is on abolition of untouchability. So that was some issue before the independence of India. Now Article 18 is abolition of titles and prohibits citizens from accepting any titles from any foreign state that should be without informing the state. So people can take titles without proper inform. Okay, so abolition of titles. So that means you cannot take any titles like Maharaja and all. And also this Bharat Ratna or Padma Vibhushan cannot be used by the recipient as titles. Next, Article 19. So it talks about freedom of speech and expression, which is Article 19(1)(a). Right to assemble peacefully without arms. Right to move freely throughout the territory of India. Right to practice any profession or carry any occupation or trade or business. So that should be legal. Next is Article 20, which is protection in respect of conviction for offences. So Article 20 is based on that. So which say no ex post facto law a person shall be convicted for offence that he only committed, and like punishment should not be higher than the crime he committed. So that means the person should get the punishment as the crime he committed. Next, no double jeopardy. That means the person shall not be prosecuted or punished for the same offence more than once. Okay, suppose he cannot go to jail twice for the same offence. That means for the same case. Okay. Next is no self-incrimination, or person accused of any offence will be compelled to be witness against himself. So he cannot give witness against himself. So what he can do, he can, I think, make confessions. Okay, but he cannot be a witness against himself. Next is Article 21. It's a protection from life and personal liberty. So there are lots of things there in Article 21, and this article, right to privacy is also under this article, which is Article 21D. Okay, so D should be small letter. Next, Article 21A provides free education for the children under age of 6 to 14 years. So this is made by 86 Amendment Act 2002. So that is under Article 21A. Now this Article 22, that is protection against arrest and detention. So no person is arrested shall be detained in a custody without being informed or be denied the right to consult and to be defended. So the one who is arrested should be given right to be defended. Every person who is arrested should be presented to a magistrate within a period of 24 hours. Okay, so this is not available for enemy, alien or person under preventive detention. So it is not applicable only for citizens only, or anything like this preventive detention. Okay, next, this two articles 23 and 24 is against rights against exploitation. So this Article 23 says prohibition of traffic in human beings or forced labor, and Article 24 prohibits employment of children below this age 14 in any factory or mine or any hazardous activity. So other than they can be employed but not in factory or hazardous activity. Those were under the Child Labor Act of 1986. Okay. So next, right to freedom of religion. So this article 25 to 28 is right to freedom of religion. Okay. Article 25, this freedom of conscience and right to freely profess, practice and propagate religion. Article 26, it says about freedom to manage religious affair. Every religious denomination or any section shall have the following rights. Okay, which is to establish and maintain institution or religious and charitable purpose, and this is a right to manage its own affairs in the matter of religion. Then right to acquire, right to acquire and own movable or immovable property, right to administer property in accordance with law. Then Article 27 is freedom of taxation in promotion of religion. Article 20 is freedom of attending religious instruction. Okay, so these are Article 27 and 28. Now these are cultural and educational right, which is 29 to 30. So 29 is a protection of interest of minorities. Article 30 is the right of minority to establish and administer educational institute. Next is Article 31, that was right to property, but nowadays it is not there, so it has become 300A. So it was not a fundamental right, so you cannot have right to property now as fundamental right. So it was dismissed in First Amendment, where this what we have schedule number 9 was introduced. Next, these are the most important article as per Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So B.R. Ambedkar says the Article 32 is the heart and soul of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court rule that Article 32 is a basic feature of the Constitution and cannot take away by any amendment. So Article 32 is the basic feature of the Constitution. Okay. Under Article 32 and under Article 226, Supreme Court and High Court can issue writs of various form in case of violation of fundamental rights. Okay. So this habeas corpus is order issued by the court to a person who has detained another person to produce the body of later before it. So this writ may be addressed to any official or private person who has another person in his custody. Next, this mandamus is an order issued by the court to public official asking him to perform his official duty that he has failed or refused to perform. Next, this is quo warranto, that means by what authority or warrant it is issued to inquire the legality of a claim of person in to a public office. Next, prohibition is the issued by higher court to a lower court or tribunal to prevent the latter from exceeding its jurisdiction that it does not possess. Okay. Yes, certiorari. Okay, certiorari. I mean, I'm spelling it wrong. Certiorari means certified or to be informed. It is issued by higher court. This is not court. To a lower court or tribunal to transfer a case pending. So these are Article 32. Then there are some limitations on enforcement of fundamental right. So what are they? Parliament has modified the application of fundamental rights on the member of armed police force or intelligence organization, so to ensure proper discharge of their duties and maintenance of discipline among them. So that is under 33 article. And certain fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution may be suspended while proclamation or emergency made by precedent under Article 352. So Article 352 generally is the article where the emergency which is based on anything related to armed rebellion or anything like war-like situation. Then there is another point. So fundamental rights available only to citizens, not to foreigners. So this prohibition of discrimination on the ground of religions, race, sex or place of birth, which is Article 15. So that fundamental right is only available for citizens. Equal opportunity in the matter of public employment makes next is equal opportunity in matter of public employment, which is Article 16. Protection of six rights regarding freedom of speech and expression. Which is under Article 19. Then protection of language, script and cultural minorities, which is Article 29, and rights to establish and administer educational institute under Article 30. So those are only available for citizens. Now these are the fundamental rights, both applicable for citizens and foreigner except enemy aliens. So these are equality before law and equal protection of law, which is Article 14. Protection in respect to conviction for offences, Article 20. Protection of life and personal liberty, Article 21. Right to elementary education, 21A. Protection against arrest and detention, which is Article 22. Prohibition of traffic of human beings and forced child labor, Article 24. Then freedom of conscience and free profession and practice of religion, Article 25. Then this Article 26, 27 and 28 again, those are related to freedom to manage religious affairs. So those are also available for both citizens and foreigners. Now this part is important, which is we call as DPSP or Directive Principles of State Policy. So these are some directions that is given to the states, but they are not legally enforceable. So thing is that you cannot like put a complaint against a state for not performing this directive principles. So these are in part 4 of Indian Constitution, Article 36 to 51. So they promote social economic democracy. Okay, they embroidered the concept of welfare state. So I think I have to make corrections here. So I have lots of mistake in my PPT. Next, they are not non-justiciable. So these are again divided in different type of directive principles. So some are socialistic principle, so which is Article 38, the promotion of welfare by securing a social order, by social economic, political and minimize inequalities in income status. So this is under Article 38. And Article 39, this should be 2, I guess. Secure the rights of adequate means of livelihood for all citizens, equal pay for men and women, prohibition of health and strength of worker and children against possible abuse. Now this Article 39A is to promote equal justice and provide free legal aid to the poor. Now this Article 41 to secure rights to work, education and to public assistance in case of unemployment. Okay, so whole sickness and disability. So again these are related to this unemployment, work, education. Article 42 is to make provision for and humane condition for work and maternity leave. Then Article 43 is to secure a living, this would be living wage. Then Article 47 is to raise the level of nutrition and standard of living of people to improve public health. Again, they are not justiciable. That means you cannot say enforce the government to apply these directive principles. So these are Gandhian principles where Article 40. So this Article 40 is to organize village panchayat to function as a unit of self-government. Article 43 is to promote cottage industry on individual or cooperative in rural areas. Article 46 is to promote education and economic interest of SC/ST, another weaker section. 47 is to prohibit consumption of intoxicating drinks or drugs. Article 48 is to prohibit slaughter of cows and improve their breed. Okay, so prohibit slaughter of cow to improve their breed. Next is are called liberal and intellectual principles. So Article 44 is to secure all citizen a uniform civil code throughout the country. And Article 45 is to provide early childhood care and education for all the children and till they complete 6 years. Then Article 48 to organize the agricultural and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines. And 48A, that is again I think important. So protect and improve environment and to safeguard forest and wildlife. Then Article 50 separate the judiciary from executive in public services of the state. Article 51 to promote international peace, security and to maintain honorable relation between nations to foster so this is foster respect for international law. So again this is related to international peace and security. So the question will be asked like that, the which article is or which DPSP is say related to international peace and security. So that will be the answer. Now some new directive principles are there. So Article 39A to provide free legal aid to the poor, that is made by 42nd Amendment of 1976. And this Article 48A to protect forest, environment and safeguard. Okay, this will be safeguard. Forest and Wildlife is 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, which is also called as mini constitution because of the number of things that were added in that amendment act. Next is Article 45 is should be provide early childhood care and education. So that is 86 Amendment Act 2022. Now the fundamental duties that are under this Article 51A. So till now we have completed the constitution and the fundamental duties. Okay, so this is part, also this particular fundamental duties are in part 4A of the constitution. So till now we have completed directive principle and up to fundamental duties. So this is under Article 51